I thought it was a great question. So the answer is that we say like this. Usually it's however there's two ideas here in Torah, and they're not a contradiction. One is that a man is supposed to satisfy his wife. A man has an obligation to satisfy his wife, and a woman. And it also says in Nedarim 20 in the Talmud, and it's brought down in Halacha, that however a man wants it, he gets it. Right? So you have two things going on. The man gets it the way he wants it, and the woman has to be satisfied. So it's kind of like a give and a take, and it's supposed to be done, so that both people are happy. She's supposed to be satisfied, he gets it the way he wants, everybody's happy. Right? So it's a give and a take. You go as far as each one can go. Now, normally, I think it's the guy who wants to do anal, but what do I know? Right? And the woman, she's going to say, whoa, 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 that might hurt me. Right? So, she might get hurt any which way, even vaginally, but, what are you going to do, right? But she's the one getting penetrated, she's the one having bodily injury, so I think that she gets the final say in the matter. That's me personally.
But then we're old-fashioned courtly Victorian gentlemen, so that's the way we roll.
I have no idea what that means. So here's the thing. So normally I would think that it would be the woman saying, he wants to do it, but I don't want to, because it's going to hurt me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but this is kind of a different question. I don't think I've ever even seen a guy ask this question before, to be honest.
Well, doesn't the Rambam say? Sorry.
If my wife wants me to do it, I must. If she wants to do it, and I would say it, based on everything I've read, she wants to be satisfied. You don't have to satisfy her that way, but it would be nice if you did. You know what I mean? If you cannot do it, it just disgusts you so badly, then that's something you'd have to compromise with your wife on. Maybe you'd want to go to a counselor or somebody in between, right? And don't they have
bring in another guy?
No, but don't they have marriage counselors where they do sex
surrogacy?
No, where they
bring in another guy.
No,
he'll through that.
No, where they just talk about about the bedroom matters
right.
with a third person, and discuss it with them, and come to some sort of mutual agreement. Mm-hmm. It's not like a black and white thing. Yes, you have to do it to satisfy her, or no, because it disgusts you, she can't get it. It's sort of like you have to find out what your borders are and what you're willing to do. Between the two of you, and maybe with a counselor, you can come to that happy medium. That's be my pussy answer.
I've never encountered any women who complain that their husbands or boyfriends wouldn't give them backdoor sex. Normally, it's not the women who are dying for, oh, please use the workman's entrance tonight, honey.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm usually I would think it's the other way around.
Exactly.
She doesn't want it, and he does, and it's going to be a big bone of contention. Oh, I bet you didn't see that one coming. All right. Okay, so that was one question that D. Medic asked. He asked another one that we got 4 viewers. Who's the 4th one? Hit the.
Don't worry, the liquid Rav.
You already saw it?
Don't worry, let's not interrupt the show.
Okay, liquid Rav. Hey. Okay. He also asked. Let's stay on that. Let's remain on anal sex since we already started it.
Exactly.
Greg, who's not in the chat room right now, said, "Is that only forbidden, or any form of? Is only sodomy and bleh?" Let's go down the list. Let's do it in order. Sylvia asked, "I thought that in Judaism that if you wanted to have with your wife, you could, but it was forbidden to participate with a man." And the answer is yes, Sylvia, you're 100% correct. Anal sex is permitted with your wife. It's forbidden to participate with a man. The confusion is that someone was using the word sodomize. I hate that word. And usually when I hear that word sodomize, it's associated with male, right?
Right.
I don't like the word sodomize. I call that the homosexual act, and I say that the words anal sex is something between man and a woman. Or you want to call it the workman's entrance or something. What's so funny now? What's going on? So, So, anal sex between a man and his wife, perfectly legitimate. Between a man, no good. Greg asks, is only anal sex between men, is that a problem? Or is it any form of intimate male affection according to the Torah? I'm going to say that the Torah forbids
No blowjobs between guys.
all male sexual intimacies.
Yeah.
However, the one that is considered an abomination, and it's the death penalty of the worst magnitude, that is saved for anal between a man and a man. But that doesn't mean to say that all the other ones are permitted. All the other stuff is also no good. Great question, by the way. Okay, now back to D. Medic asked a question. How do Torah observant Gentiles marry? How do they marry? Okay, this is changing the subject. Okay, and that's a great question. The answer is we discussed this at length about 6 months ago, that I actually did a lot of research on this. And the Rambam says that there's no formal marriage required for Gentiles. It's not like with a Jewish wedding. You don't need a Gentile wedding. Basically, the definition, according to the Rambam, two Gentiles start living together. Okay? She moves into his house, he moves into her house, or whatever. They start living together as partners. They're considered married according to the Torah, even if they didn't have a formal wedding, even if there's no ring exchanged, even if they don't have a civil marriage license. What makes them, just the fact that they're living together, they're considered married according to the Torah. Now, what's interesting on that is, if they start living together, and the woman and the man are living together, like he's got his girlfriend over and she's living with him, a guy who bangs that girlfriend, according to the Torah, is chayav for eshes ish. He's now had adultery. According to the Torah, and he's chayav misa, he requires the death penalty. So that's heavy duty. Even though that those two were not married according to civil law, Torah says they could be married. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Anything I missed here? Do you want to send any of that to me? Okay. D-Medic asked another great question. So God said he would make Adam in his image. Like, Nisa Adam B'Tzelmenu Kimisenu, like we're going to create Adam in our image. Does that mean his image looks like a person? Does that mean that since people look like people, and God created us to look like him, that therefore God has a face? And the answer is, God has it's a good question, by the way. The Rambam says in Mor Nevuchim that God, he's not corporeal, right? So the belief that God he looks like a certain thing is a heretical thought, because it ascribes physicality to something that's non-physical. But we can say that God has the spiritual attributes of what is manifested physically in a human body. In other words, we have a face, so God that has, like, quote-unquote, the face of God, right? Which is not a face. When we say the face of God, we mean like how God would appear to be. You know what I mean? It's like it's a metaphorical kind of usage, but he doesn't have. That's when it's okay to use metaphor, by the way. That's like the one place that you're allowed to, is when things don't even make sense to say that God has a face, because obviously a non-physical creature cannot have a face. But if he had a face, it would look like ours. Like it says about the outstretched arm of God, took the Jews out of Mitzrayim, took the Jews out of Egypt. It's not that he has an arm. It's a metaphor of saying that he came out and he pulled us out of Egypt. So in that sense, that he has that which human beings have physically in an arm. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, I'm glad it did to you. Henry asked, didn't King Solomon marry non-Jewish wives? Henry, how's it going? The answer is, he had them converted first. They all converted. They were 700 wives, and they came from different countries, different places all over the planet. And they came to Eretz Israel, and each one underwent a
RCC conversion,
they
were accepted by all streams of Jewish life.
In Israel, because it's most important. They had to come to Israel to be accepted.
Yeah.
So they all had an RCC.
Very stringent conversions. They all learned Hebrew and
renounced
their
idolatry.
This wasn't a Marilyn Monroe one-day conversion.
No, or Sammy Davis Jr.
Or Sammy Davis Jr.
Or Madonna.
No, this is a real thing.
I read about